While recently docked at Starbase 25, I had them refit the stations behind me to show more from the new episodes of Star Trek. Set your tricorders to stun, and let's get into this week's Initial Thoughts. Part 1. Initial Thoughts. Part 1. Initial Thoughts. We've got a lot to break down today in the 5th episode of Picard Season 2, Fly Me to the Moon. We're going to talk about enough spoilers to cripple and augment if you'd like to avoid the eugenics wars now. This is the first episode in New Trek directed by Jonathan Frakes I have enjoyed every bit of. We're starting off with a like for the reveal of Not Laris, aka Talum, as a supervisor like Gary 7 from TOS's Assignment Earth. While she's lacking an awesome transforming cat companion and helpful secretary, I love that we have further canonized Gene Roddenberry's backdoor pilot. It was a weird episode where Star Trek literally got in the way of an awesome secret agent show, but out of all Gene Roddenberry's projects other than Star Trek, this is one I would have watched. This season has had a lot of fan service in the form of, oh, remember when moments? But I really like how this episode is tying other Trek lore directly into the story. Anyway, it turns out this Watcher is here for the ancestor Picard mentioned back in Episode 1, giving his speech at Starfleet Academy. We were unknowingly introduced to Renee last week as the Tracy Torme reading woman Q was babbling about. I've got a dislike for Seven and Raffi working to free Rios. We tie this up pretty quickly, and it feels like this whole Rios taken into custody thing, just to be broken out fairly easily, has been filler to give these main characters something to do. To further drive this dislike home, Raffi and Seven disable the bus with what seems like an EMP, but it doesn't knock out Pedro's phone. It also appears they use the tricorder to stun the driver. It does give us another look at Raffi being so hyper-focused on Elnor that she's literally seeing him everywhere. We don't see this part of the cast again till the end of the episode. I've got a like for this next big tie-in to the story. It appears Soong in this time is truly the precursor to what we see in Enterprise's 3-part Augment series. I'm unclear whether we're going to retcon the time of the Augments and Corey is Patient Zero, or if this Soong's work was shut down because of the 1990s eugenics wars. Either way, it puts Issa Briones back in the cast as what's alluded to as a genetically modified clone. But her life is no picnic, since much like the modified humans introduced in DS9's statistical probabilities, her DNA sequencing is imperfect, and she can't even be in sunlight. Q hacks Soong's computer and sends him a bunch of documents. The ones I could read frame by frame are titled Integration to Hate Genome, A Case for Eugenics, the Civility of Advancing Civilizations, Selective Enhancement, Bioengineering and Evolution, High-Capacity Cloning Vectors, Sunlight Vulnerability in Closed Gene Sequences, UV Rays Clone Index Level Vulnerability, Prevalence of Skin Diseases Occurring During Biogeneration. When Corey asks Soong about her mother, he appears to lie to her. Based on these files, she's a clone, and Soong may not be her real father. Q offers Soong a way to stabilize his daughter, but only temporarily. He wants Soong to get Picard, presumably Renee, out of the way of history. I love this whole tie back to Khan, even if they end up retconning the date of the eugenics wars. Based on how they were talked about in Enterprise, it was alluded to then that they may have been the cause of Earth's World War III. I've got a like for Leah Thompson stepping out from behind the camera as director and doing a cameo, and the guy next to her has a last name Rozhenko, like Worf's foster parents. Back on La Sirena, the Borg Queen taps into the cellular network to call 911. When an officer arrives, she lures him into La Sirena and uses him as bait to try to lure Jurati back. While I like this visual of Agnes looking all Resident Evil, I've got a dislike for this weapon. In a place that's run down and abandoned for nearly 100 years, there's no way that looters and local kids haven't been through it and taken an antique weapon. More than that, where'd Jurati get shells with dry powder? I have trouble believing that there's still active shells in a weapon that's been stored the way it's been. Either way, she uses it to pepper the Borg Queen before she can kill the comp. But in a twist absolutely everyone should have seen coming, the Queen partially assimilates her. Her consciousness now lives alongside Jurati, kinda like Gray and Adira in Discovery. The final act of the script sees us setting up a classic spy show. It really brings the Assignment Earth feel back around. And I have a like for the music and how this setup plays. Jurati and her Borg Queen friend are now the best hope for our heroes in trying to infiltrate a high-stakes gala. Hopefully this doesn't pay off like Stardust City Rag next episode. Don't let the like and dislike counter fool you. This is a solid episode in the season of Picard. While it's a little slower paced, it's doing exactly what a halfway through a season episode needs to do. Answer a pile of questions while setting up new intrigue for the future. I'll see you back here next week to find out what that looks like. I've been your host, Dustin Wing.